This is Eagle 7 Sports Radio. My guest is one of the most knowledgeable persons on the issue of not just Nigerian football, but football as a whole. Respected former club owner, former administrator, member of the Presidential Task Force of Nigeria's 2010 World Cup, a man who was actually born in Nigeria, but now lives in Athens, Greece, and who did so much for the country in those days, Mr. John Mastoroudes. He's been with me. Good morning, John Mastoroudes.
Good morning, Segun. Good morning to all your listeners.
And viewers, because they are watching us also on YouTube. And it's being streamed live around the world.
Oh, I forgot to put any makeup.
You look handsome as you have ever looked. Look, with all your experiences in Nigeria, and I'm sure you heard the editorial. Do you think that we are ripe enough to have a Nigerian to coach the national team, the Super Eagles? Do you think we are ripe enough?
I know Augustine Eguavoen very, very well. I've known him for many years as a player, as a coach. I think he's a very solid guy. But we're not talking about participating anymore for Nigeria. We're talking about getting laurels. We're talking about really becoming one of the players in international football. In order to achieve that, in my opinion, having explained earlier on the difficulties of blending a team with so many players playing in different teams everywhere, one by one, you need somebody, in my opinion, of high repute and a lot of experience that can bring this team together and instill some kind of respect towards that, with a successful international coach, Nigerian coach. But do we have him? The fact that we got two results recently against Benin, and the other one that we drew 0-0.
Rwanda.
Should have not been, we cannot call these ones as a great success. These are teams that we should take for granted that we could beat, even though the gap between teams now has reduced. Still, I think that these are teams that we should be beating if we want to become a world power. So I'm not talking about Nigeria. Nigeria will play a role worldwide, and I'm saying this, that we have the capability of doing this because we have the talent. So what do we need? We need a very experienced and famous coach that the players will respect and get the incentive to play. The incentive of I'm in Nigeria, let's do it for my country. I think that one doesn't count anymore. I know that, I've lived in it, and I know that that is not something that is not a consideration as far as I'm concerned.
Can we then, in the history of football, no foreigner has won the World Cup, for example, for another country. No foreigner has won the World Cup for another country outside of his own. I don't know if you heard me there. And our dream is to win the World Cup one day. And we have a feeling it will be done by a Nigerian. Just hearing what you have to say now, can we ever get to a point where a Nigerian would become coach, would deserve to be coach of the Nigerian team? From what you have just said.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Let us take the incident of Eguavoen. I remember him being the coach in 2010, assistant coach for the national team, and subsequently became full-time coach after Keshi. So since then, has he gone to do any foreign overseas training? Has he improved in his coaching abilities and things like that? Has he done anything to progress?
Yes, he has.
What has
He has gone overseas for training. He has gone for several programs, training programs. And that's Eguavoen. And aside from Eguavoen, in 1 year before he was banned, Sia was actually declared best coach in the world for the age group he coached. And that's very close to being at the highest level of the Super Eagles. He was acknowledged as the best coach, Samson Sia, for the work that he did in 1 year.
Anyway, Shegun, it's very unfortunate. I cannot hear what you're saying.
Oh, okay.
It's a shame. But that Eguavoen has really trained. He has made. He has improved. He has gone overseas. He has done more training programs and things like that. Well, I am an advocate of a top-class coach. Okay. And when you're saying to me that no coach, no foreign coach has won, but we're talking about teams like Brazil, Argentina, England, they produce coaches in abundance. Nigeria doesn't. So you cannot compare that with other countries that have won. Because let's face it, the French, the Spanish, and the ones that have been winning all along now are countries with a lot of homegrown players. We have a different situation in Nigeria. We have 4 players that are all playing overseas, and we need to bring them in and blend them to play to their capacity, and they need the motivation and the respect to their coach. So I am not so sure whether we have that coach in Nigeria. Now, if you, because you know better, Nigerian people know better. I mean, for me, ideally, it would have been a Nigerian coach. But do we have him vis-a-vis a big name coach? Now, if you see, for the success of Nigerian football, it does not depend only on coaches and on players. It depends on the governing body. And if there is the intention there and the goodwill to really improve our football, it starts from there. And from there, you really can get the money that needs to be done, the facilities that need to be done, the monitoring and scouting that needs to be done. I see so many Nigerian teams playing playing for other teams. It pains me. Why could we not have these players play for Nigeria? And we're talking about big name footballers now. So we are lacking. There is not enough effort being put in this respect. It starts from the top.
Okay, you are monitoring Nigerian players in Europe. Help us look at the quality of the players we have now. Through our history, you have seen so many generations of good players from the 70s to the 80s to the 90s to the 2000s. Now we are in this generation. Do you think we have the quality and caliber of players in this generation to win international laurels? The quality of players now, how good are they?
I follow quite a lot of football, Shegun, and I must admit I do have a special eye and interest in the Nigerian players playing overseas. And I must say that from midfield and forwards, we have very strong players that I feel are internationally very, very strong. Weak point, defense.
Finish.
Yeah.
How far can
that's where I feel we lack at the moment.
How far can a team that does not have a strong defense line go then, irrespective of coach or not? So what do we do in this regard? Because, everybody is monitoring, and I have a feeling that the players we have assembled now, except there are some that we don't see, the players we have now represent the best of this generation. What can we do?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, just to give you an example, I mean, Ekong, who is the captain, a good center half, played the last 2 years in Greece. So I have a personal opinion about him. And he is a good to middle class. I mean, he is not very good anymore. He used to probably be, but he has had a lot of injuries in his career and things like that. And you cannot depend on a center half for Nigeria, for a strong team that is going for a championship or for winning laurels, to have such low center halves. I just gave you an example of Ekong now.
Yeah.
But I mean, I know the same thing. I don't think that these players are up to standard. But I feel that these are the kind of players that we can groom locally. In the local divisions, we have a lot of good defenders, I think, which can improve. I mean, let's take the champion team in Nigeria and take 2 or 3 players from their defense and groom them.
Well, the Nigerian teams locally in Nigeria now are not like the team of your days that get far in even African club championships. These days, you see that from year to year, our domestic clubs do not go far, even in Africa. And yet, we were thinking of bringing up players from that league who are constantly moving to Europe to come and man the defense area that you speak about now. What is it about our domestic football that is not right? What are we not doing right? When you were there, we got it right, we were building it up, and suddenly there's a collapse.
Well, the reason, of course, is very obvious. From the moment they play in any junior team or they are exposed, immediately their first option is to go overseas. So, I mean, nobody stays behind. I mean, they all go out. And some of them go and play in third division elsewhere, and they're forgotten. I saw Ireland play the other day, the Republic of Ireland.
Yes.
And they had 2 Nigerians in. Well, not Nigerians, they had Irish guys, but with Nigerian names. Bamidele, for example.
Yes.
I mean, we're talking about a great defender. So, I mean, I watch all these players, and it has to do, like I said from the beginning, on the scouting of the FA. And people, or the coach that will inspire them to play for Nigeria. Shagun, I think, to put it in a nutshell, I like Eguavoen. I think he's good. But these last results, I mean, are not something to be rejoicing. They are good, but they're not. I take them for granted. These are games that we should win in any case. However, and like I said, I am talking from the perspective of Nigeria winning laurels, like Morocco did. Morocco went and shined in the last World Cup. We can do that. I have no doubt that we can do it. I mean, I think you have put a big question mark on the capability or this big talent that we're talking about, the Nigerian players today. I think you put a question mark there whether we have that caliber. If you ask me, I think we do.
Okay. Now, through the past 10 years at least, we have had foreign coaches for 8 or 9 years of those 10 years. We've had at least 3 foreign coaches that have produced teams that couldn't beat Benin Republic.
Yeah, but you just...
So, no, I'm just taking it one by one. Just follow me. Yeah, you spoke of bringing a big coach. Now we have brought, other coaches that are not big. And in the past 2 weeks...
Even their mother didn't know them. Come on.
In the past 2 weeks, we have brought a Bruno Labbadia. That's what we are going for. Foreigners. And they take so much money. That's why some of us say, okay, if we bring in these foreigners, we pay them all these huge amounts of money. We don't even know them before they come to Nigeria. They don't achieve anything for us. And we are still clamoring for more and more of them. Why don't we put our own Nigerian there? So Where do we, the issue is usually that of funding. Where do we raise the money? You look at football in your days, when you were here, you got Leventis to fund, Coca-Cola to fund. You know, those organizations now don't have the money to put into football, and so on and so on. So where are we going to get the money to pay this big coach? And talk about the coaches we have been bringing, the international coaches we have been bringing. Speak about them.
Okay. Like I said, the coaches that we have had in the past 10 years, the foreign coaches, were really, they were not coaches that did any work for Nigeria, and nobody knew them. I mean, there were nothing that you could say would gain any respect by any any name. Labadia, I remember him as a footballer, but as a coach, I do not know him. Look, he may be good, but he's not somebody that can inspire. And that is my big thing. You understand my big motivation for asking for a big coach. Now, funding. Maybe because government has areas to spend their money, I know a couple of people that if you bring a good case, and you can help in that because you're good, to fund coaches, you go to Aliko, who loves football. You know that Mourinho, for example, was available, and he went to bloody Turkey. He was available. Sari is now becoming available. So these are players that, these are coaches that might cost a lot. NFA doesn't have to fund them. There are 3 or 4 Nigerian people that I know could do it, provided you make a case for it. Nice, a good case, one that makes sense, one that you can prove at the end that there's going to be success. And because you are, I mean, your target is to go far, and you bring this to Aliko or other sort of big Nigerians, they will do it. Shogun, I am convinced about that.
Okay, somebody just sent in a message. He said, you said the problem was the defense, and he's saying the problem actually is the midfield, that Nigeria doesn't have the creative genius of Augustine Okocha, Kanu Wankwo, and all those people that used to knit Nigerian football, that the team now doesn't have that kind of midfield players anymore in midfield.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
No, it's a correct comment. We don't have that caliber players at the moment. That I don't know of any player that can. You see, we don't have the individual letters, but we could have a collective midfield that fights, that covers each other, that know how to move the ball, how to carry the ball, how to distribute the ball. I mean, it's a collective thing. Okocha, Kanu, all these people were individuals and they were great. We don't have them. We don't have that we don't have that quality players anymore. There is an Olise, played for France the other day. What a footballer. We have an Olise, a second Olise, playing in England and in Germany. Why? Now, this Olise that played in France the other day is an Okocha, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. In your time, because people are very interested, in your time, how did you manage? Because these days, you know, those who fund clubs in Nigeria are either individuals, like the owner of Remo Stars, who is doing a fantastic job, who is one of very few people in Nigeria.
In my days as well.
Kunle Shoname.
Yes.
Kunle Shoname, he's doing a great job. But these days, you find that most of the clubs that succeed or survive are done by government, But you did something that was unique at a time when Abiola himself was alive. You were there, and you had a few other people, Iwanyamu, but these were all individuals connected to organizations. What are we doing wrong these days? I don't know. Is it the business environment in Nigeria? Is it that we don't have people, individuals like you anymore that could
No.
come in and use corporates? Because all of you were supported by corporates. Abiola himself was not alone. He had a huge organization behind him that was driving football in Nigeria. What are we doing? What can we learn from your own experiences at that time?
In my days, it was amateur football, Segun.
Was it?
Now it's a business proposition. If you want to run a club, it's a business thing. Unless you have ulterior motives of becoming a politician or something like that, and you want your name to be on the headlines, there is no money to be made in Nigerian football. There's no money.
Up till now?
Up till now. It's a tough thing. I mean, first of all, do we have the facilities? The stadiums where they can be properly controlled? Only from the stadiums, the money that you can make from the. I remember when we used to play at in National Stadium in
Liberty Stadium and National Stadium.
National for the FA Cup final.
Okay.
When we went to make, there was 80,000 people in the stadium, and in the final analysis, they told me there were 9,000. That's how much they gave us. 9,000, they said, out of 80,000. So these are the kind of things you understand. There is no, it's a business proposition now to have a football team, and I don't think businessmen would do that because it doesn't make sense.
You see, this is a damning verdict. Businessmen cannot invest in football because the infrastructure are not there, the facilities are not there, the environment is not there. So how can we ever get football to become truly professional? There's a lot of noise here to say, let the state government stop funding football. Stop funding football. Once they stop, who would fund a football club in Taraba State, for example?
Nobody in his right sense.
Wow.
Because, like I said, unless there are ulterior motives, political ones, basically. Otherwise, I cannot see how anybody would do that. I really can't, because it's a bottomless pit.
How can we get away from that? Because, you know, what we are saying now, Nigerians all over the country are hearing, this is the reality. That you are talking professional football, you are saying the state governments should not fund it, and yet you don't have on ground the corporates, you don't have the organizations, so to fund the clubs. How would we survive?
Yeah, it's only with corporate organizations to support, and in order to, you have to make a case to them. I mean, I don't know anybody who has tried to do that. Look, let me take two countries, for example, which are Argentina and Brazil. The majority of their national players play overseas. And their clubs in Argentina and in Brazil, they live from hand to mouth. They don't make money. They cannot buy big players. Wow. So that's why the European clubs come and buy them all. So and we're talking about a stadium like Maracanã, you can have 100,000 every week, 120,000 people every week, fanatical crowds, and still they cannot make it. And in their national teams, most of them play abroad. Nowadays, however, they are trying, and they show the sense in this. They have the champion team in Brazil, for example, will provide 3, 4, 5 players. So there is some kind of unity in that team. The same thing happens now to Argentina. They're trying more and more to use local players to start with. Trouble is, again, the moment they play a European club, a Chelsea, an Arsenal, United, whichever, they will buy them. And they don't stay there because the clubs cannot afford them. So it's not a unique thing in Nigeria. So it's a matter of us now, like I said, exploring, and monitoring our players that play overseas.
Mr. Mastoroudes has just gone on to areas that, we find strange, because so many people say so many things about the state of Nigerian football that do not fit into the reality of our situation. We were talking about professional football, the domestic leagues in Nigeria, how to fund them, the challenges we had, and he brought in this inference of what is actually going on in South America. So maybe you would just want to expatiate on that aspect again, because that's so critical. Our people need to know that all this talk about the domestic league will start to make so much money when clubs in Taraba and Jigawa and anywhere outside Lagos will find it extremely difficult to make money from stadiums that do not have the infrastructure to attract people. Even when they do, they don't have the marketing skills. We don't have so many things that are just not there for a very successful professional club to survive. Let me also raise this issue, maybe John will add to it, that many of the clubs, I don't know if it's in Europe, is there something about their relationship with the cities in which they are located? That's an angle that we don't usually look at. Barcelona is the name of a city. So many other clubs like that. If you talk of some club, the Bolton Wanderers, that's a club in a city. And I went to watch one FA Cup semi-final. I've forgotten the other club. And when I got onto the train, the whole of the train going to Wembley Stadium for the semi-finals were people from that small village somewhere in England that had qualified. These were the supporters whose support and funding actually keeps that club going. Why are we not following that kind of a model, getting the people in cities to drive the clubs rather than individuals? Just your general thoughts on what I've just said. Mr. Mastoroudes.
Okay, let me, I can give you some examples, Shegun. Last year in the Spanish League, there was a team that came from third to second division to first division, were bought over by the Abu Dhabi ownership, the same people that own Manchester City.
Okay.
And last year, I'm talking about Girona, and Girona were actually challenging to win the Spanish league last year. They were, for most of the time, in the first place until eventually they were caught up in the end. What am I trying to say? Is that you need a big money man to put the money to do it.
Wow.
So that's how you do it. Girona is an example. There are so many other examples of teams. I mean, Leicester was another one that won the league in England out of nowhere, and again, because somebody put money. I mean, it was somebody from, if I'm not mistaken, Indonesia or Malaysia, I cannot remember.
Yeah,
that was investor in Leicester. And there are many examples of it's where the money is. It's not the town itself. The town brings people to the stadium and it fills out the clubs. But the financing of a club is it will have a money back.
So, what kind of model, therefore, just looking at the possibilities in Nigeria, what kind of a model? I don't know, because it's confusing for me.
Yeah, but you and I know that since 2008, there have been many groups of friends, people that you and I know, that put their heads together and they were trying to form clubs. They were doing their feasibility study, all of them, and none of them actually actualized their dream of having a football club. They were all aficionados. They loved football. They had money. But when they put their figures together, they realized that they could not survive. And you and I know these people. And there are quite a few of them that tried to form teams and eventually let it go because they couldn't. They realized that they could not do it. there was not enough support. And the players themselves in Nigeria do not want to stay in Nigeria. They want to go away immediately. I mean, from the first, only one call to junior team will eventually make them, go and play in one obscure league in Warsaw, in Poland, where you don't hear anything about it.
Wow.
And it's also the discipline they show. But the government says they have to be protected, these boys. This is why I'm saying we have to nurture and take care of our players. Even when they go overseas, we have to make sure that they're the ones that have potential, the ones that we identify. And who's going to identify this? Do we have the necessary coaching ability at home level to identify the good players that eventually will make it? And then monitor it when they go overseas. Don't allow it only, don't just let them go and forget about them and then only call them. As a matter of fact, I've been seeing the same names in the national teams for the past 8 years.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Musa is still not playing.
Who?
Musa.
Okay.
I mean, he's been, recycled material all the time.
Oh boy. Oh boy. What are your? Okay, go on. Go on.
Well, I think, like I said, second, it's always from the head. That's where it all starts. Coaches, players come after. If Leventis United was success, it was because the head was okay. And I just don't want to speak for myself.
We are speaking for you.
Oh, okay, thank you. That's where it all starts. The rest you build. But you build, nurture with love, with care, and hard work. You have to be really determined to do that. And Nigerian coaches, another thing that I have about Nigerian coaches that I put a big question mark is the fact that they can be easily pushed around by people who would tell them, I want you to put this player, this one. They will succumb. This is another shortfall. And again, another thing is the dedication. Amodu was a dedicated coach. I worked with him, and I remember how dedicated he was. He woke up in the morning and went to bed thinking about football. I don't know many coaches in Nigeria, in my experience, that have that kind of capacity. Anyway.
What are your fondest memories about Nigerian football generally? Now let's just relax and enjoy, the bottom part of this show. What are your fondest memories? I know your passion is unparalleled. Your love for the game, nobody can match. Your commitment to it is demonstrated through everything that you did in Nigeria. But what are your fondest memories?
I think one thing that really stands out to me in my mind is maybe it was because those were the beginnings of Leventis United, was when we won the third division, won the Challenge Cup, and won the Champions Cup against Rangers. Those were 3 games. The league, undefeated. We beat Abiola Babes in the cup, and also in Rangers in the Super Cup. So I think that year, 83, was for me the apex of Leventis United, even though they went on to win every year thereafter. Both second division, first division. Those were good times. Look, I enjoyed all my time that I spent during the Leventis era. I must admit that for me was a dream that I always had to, that was actually, materialized, and it went well, and it was successful. And there's nothing more beautiful than success, you know that.
And what players, which of those players do you have your best memories of? I know you liked so many players. You, this man, you were just picking all the best players from around the country. But which one of those, were you
I was
really in love with?
just a minute. I was picking players that they were not names in Nigeria. I made them into names.
Okay.
Okay. I remember I saw a Tokebe, just to give you an example.
A Tokebe, yeah, okay.
Came in as a reserve for Calabar Rovers. And I said to Hassan, go quickly to his parents in Calabar and bring him. The same thing with the Karika. No, the players that I really felt that were of high caliber and could have played anywhere in the world. One of them was Leotis Boateng.
The center half, the Ghanaian.
Yeah, he was just amazing. Well, he played for Nigeria.
Yeah, he did.
The other one was Little Benson. My goalkeeper, Ansa. Players like Ogunlano.
Ayo Ogunlano.
Ekpo, Bumi, your brother, Wole. All of them, man. They were, they are all in my heart. All.
Which one did you not get? Which players did you not get to come and play for you? Oh, Etim.
Yeah, he wanted to come, but he was so cocky that I let him go. But that was a player that I would have loved to have.
What of the coaches of that time? You had to resort to...
I loved Philip Boama.
Okay.
I loved him. And of course we had Josie, Hugo, Theophanis. None of them was an exceptionally great coach. But then again, they relied a little bit on me as well.
We want to hire you. Nigeria now wants to hire you. We want to hire you. we want to hire you. So, and let us start.
Before a game against Rangers, which was very critical, Theophanis comes and tells me, I'm going to leave out Bumi and Tokebe because they did not work hard in training. And I said, over my dead body. You are not going to cut your nose to spite your face. So I said, leave it to me. So I called the boys and I said, look, the coach doesn't want you to play because you haven't been training well. But I'm going to stick my neck out if you give me your word that you're going to give everything you have in this game. And I will try and convince the coach to allow you to play. They said, look, we go die for you. They won the game. They went to Enugu. They won 1-0 and came back. And they were the best players of the game. So that's why I'm saying I had something to do with it as well.
Of course. That's why we want to hire you now. Okay, we want to hire you. There are certain things you will teach us, which I know you did. One, which people don't talk much about. Which people don't talk much about. People don't talk much about it. But I know that if you had a club in Ibadan, just appreciate what I'm going to say. You had a club in Ibadan. The people of Ibadan, they supported only one club. They were a movement. They were the base of a movement of the Yoruba race as a whole. The Yoruba everywhere in the world supported one club. You understand what I'm saying? And you come out of that Ibadan, and you got, the only way to have survived was to have secured the support of the Ibadan people. You did it. One day I'm going to sit down with you and ask you how you did it. But give us briefly how you did perform that magic and how important the supporters movement is to any club.
Okay, good question, Shegun. And I'm glad you brought it up because I have a good story on this. You see, I realized that because I saw what was happening to Water Corporation. I mean, they were completely demolished by ICE. They were not allowed to come up. So I realized that in order for us to progress there, we had, first of all, I was a supporter of IICC myself. And then I took players from IICC that became my players, you understand? People like Bumi Adegun, people like Okenla, people like 3 or 4 players who played for IICC that I brought them into the club. And the coach afterwards with Josie, Pat Hassan, all these people were ex-IICC. So there was some kind of IICC too. I was very, very fortunate that Chief Lekon Salami, his father and my father were very close friends. So my father called Lekon and said, Luko, take care of my son. Salami called me. We had a truce. Whatever was going to happen, he actually cooled down the supporters. And then I took on my team Babaleron and Olotu, who were the chief supporters of ICC.
Please repeat that part so that everybody would hear. Olotu and Babaleron.
But I really don't know. I know Babaleron is not anymore there, but I don't know about Olotu. And so it was Chief Leko Salami with Olotu and Babaleron. I brought them on our side. They did not like Leventis United, but they were in a payroll, for, as it were, not to put disturbance for Leventis. And we always never beat them. And for my instruction was not to, when we played, don't go and win.
You actually did that.
Ask your brother, he will tell you. I told them to go easy. And one year, the year that we were winning the league in the first division, ICC was going into second division. The same year. It was a big coup. And I must say that even though they didn't like Leventis United, in the end, they respected Leventis United. They didn't like them. They respected them because they came and watched good football.
Well,
but we were the second favorite team in all the other towns. If you ask anybody in Rangers which is the other team you like, everybody would say them. In Lagos, definitely we were the second team after Stores.
Okay.
It was a great experience, Sherwin. Great experience.
And that leads us to, your living in Nigeria in those days, your life in Nigeria in those days. It must have been wonderful to have, because I remember, we were very close, and you used to tell me how wonderful. A lot of foreigners did not appreciate the beauty and, the opportunities that Nigeria provided and still provides. So you tell us about your life in Nigeria generally, and your experiences, just living there for all those years, outside of even football.
I was very fortunate and blessed, actually, Sherwin, because I had the opportunity to do a lot of things in Nigeria. People know me for probably because of football, but I've done also quite many more things in my working life in Nigeria. I was quite popular in my social life. People know me. I became a very known figure because of football. So I had a very, I would say, I was very blessed. I mean, it was an easy, nice life. I enjoyed it. I was part of the furniture of Nigeria. Look, I was synonymous with, I mean, I became very close to Nigeria. I felt very much Nigerian. It was only when I left the country to travel, I realized I was not a Nigerian. When I was in Nigeria, I was a Nigerian. And I remember whenever we had guests in our house, the majority of the people that came to my house were Nigerians. So I blended nicely, and I felt, and Nigeria also treated me very well.
You were a member of the Presidential Task Force, the only non-black person to have occupied that high position in the Nigerian story. What was that experience like? Because you had, unique.
Yeah, it was a bit tricky. A lot of people, there was quite a lot of antithesis. I mean, people didn't like the presidential task force, especially the in crowd. They thought, who are these people who are coming to tell us what to do? So there was some kind of complacency there. However, I decided that I was going to be part of it, and I joined, and I really went everywhere with them. I took the position very seriously, and I went with them in the preparation that they did in Malta, when we played to Tunis, and then in South Africa, I was in camp with the team. So I really took it very seriously. But at the same time, I must say it was, we had bad press. People did not believe that we were playing any serious role. Even our chairman at that time,
Governor Rotimi.
Yeah, when I saw him lately, he came to Greece recently and we talked. He said, John, you are the one who was all the time agitating for money. more than the player, more than the player. I said, oh God, that is not true. The other made me be the it wasn't me. Anyway, it was fun. Look, I enjoyed it. I mean, being part of the Nigerian national team was, again, a big honor. I came to know a lot of players. I appreciated Obafemi
Martins.
Yeah, I didn't know much about him, but I got to know him during that period, and great player. I really did not realize how good he was till I saw him. It was a great experience for me, Shep.
I know. Okay, now help us just project. Look into, this is football now. Look into the future of Nigerian football for us, the possibilities. How far do you think? How soon do you think, when you look at everything, the players, the environment, world football, and so on? Is it possible? Can we make it? Is it possible? How far can the Nigerian team, the Super Eagles, go? How far?
I really do think if you put the right points together, if you put the right things together, we can. If there's an African, sub-Saharan African, or a black African country that can do it, number one is Nigeria. It's not Ivory Coast, it's not Senegal, it's not Cameroon. It is Nigeria. That is how I feel. Because we can do it. We have the potential. We have the money also. The fact that Nigeria is living in a poor condition does not mean that Nigeria doesn't have money. They have it. It's gathered in certain small corners. Having said that, it's still there. It's available. If we can put that into use, we can create something very, very big. I really strongly believe that. But take a good coach. Take a good coach. And if it is a Nigerian that has worked hard and he has been overseas, he has been seconded into big clubs, he has come back with good ideas and things like that, let it be a Nigerian. I have no ideally, it would be nice to have a Nigerian. But I think in order to reach where we want to reach and to become a team that wins accolades, you need a big coach. We are not a country that is playing the big part in international football. There are only 8 countries in the world that have won the World Cup or big cups, maximum 8 countries. And all of them have local leagues that are thriving. So you cannot take that and say, because they have local coaches, it means that Nigeria has to have a local coach as well. We are still coming up, and we need a good, big coach. And I gave you some good names. I said Mourinho was available. Sarri is becoming available. And there are many more. And these are big names, man. These are names that, Sarri was a coach also of Osimhen. Osimhen, how can we say that last year he was brilliant and this year he's struggling to find a team and he goes to Turkey for nothing? I mean, these are the kind of characters that need to be taken care of. We cannot just let them lose like that. We have to, and this is the job of NFA and the people that they put there. Scouting is so important, Sheikh.
Tell me your impressions about Osimhen, Ademola, Boniface.
I loved him. Osimhen is a great player. He's a player that can distribute the ball as well. He's not selfish. And inside the 18, he's lethal.
Ademola?
Well, he gave the championship to Napoli 2 years ago.
What of Ademola in Atlanta? Have you been watching him?
Yeah, he's very good. Very good. Yeah, I have, of course.
And Boniface?
Yeah, I'm not so sure about Boniface.
Okay.
Not so sure.
So
I've seen him. I know him.
Yeah.
Simon, out of the boys that I remember from the past, is still a good player.
Simon Moses.
Yes.
Okay. All right. My very last question is this now. Then I will allow you to say whatever you want to say before we go. This is my very last question, because we want to hire you as a consultant for 2 minutes. Nigeria is hiring you as a consultant for the next 2 minutes. We are in a situation now. We have Augustine Eguavoen. He has just taken us through 2 soft matches, but both were successful. Our next set of matches...
just a minute, Shegun.
Yeah.
Are you saying that the 0-0 is a successful result?
We have 4 points instead of 6. We are on top of the group table. These were teams that just a month or 2 ago defeated us. Benin Republic actually defeated us.
Yeah, in Abuja.
Yeah, no, in Abidjan. And then we played Rwanda, and they drew with us at home. And yeah, I'm just saying, before then it was disaster. We were losing to everybody. And so for the first time, that's why in the editorial that I read, we actually just appreciate. We could have played Benin psychologically down. The coach we engaged a few days before did not show up. Our players just assembled 1 or 2 days before, and the spirit was low. We could have lost against Benin. So we are acknowledging the contributions of Eguavoen only for those 2 matches, because he came. He wasn't the coach. He came, and we won 1, we drew 1, we're on top of the table, and we are saying thank you. Now we have our next set of matches coming up in 3 weeks' time. We have Libya, and I think one other country. We have Libya. So these are also soft countries. So you are the consultant now. What would you get us do? Because that's the whole essence of today's program. Augustine Eguavoen is not the coach. He's just a technical person who was drafted to just come and help. And he came in and helped. And we have 3 weeks to go. We don't have a foreign coach yet, which is the recommendation, even from you. Is the recommendation from you. So, what do you think we can do now? That's the consultancy we want to give you. Keep Eguavoen, look for a foreign coach before then, or get support for him from somewhere. The two assistants he used were two coaches from the domestic league here that have no experience whatsoever internationally. Those were the two people or three people that assisted him for those two last matches. So what would you do as our consultant?
This group leads to where?
Africa Cup of Nations, our qualification for the Africa Cup of Nations in Morocco in 2025.
Okay. Shagun, I think it would be a fatal thing at the moment to change the coach and start looking for somebody else to win the group. In order to win the group, I think Eguavoen should stay there. And I don't think he will probably need any support. He will be able to make it with this kind of caliber of teams that he's playing against. And as we progress, I think the team will also improve in its game. Now, after we have qualified, however, can Eguavoen take this team to win? That's my big question. It is from then on that we have to start thinking whether something has to happen. It's not going to be nice if Eguavoen qualifies and then you say, thank you very much, make you go, bring somebody else. I don't think Eguavoen should be kept out of the team, whatever happens. Even if you find this big name that I am hoping you find, Eguavoen should be his right-hand man and work under somebody like that. Eguavoen can carry on, but Eguavoen is not a young boy anymore. So I would, as things stand today, Eguavoen should remain in that position and qualify Nigeria into the African Nations Cup. We have to start thinking, however, if we want to win the African Nations Cup, if Eguavoen can do it together with his players. Or do we need that big name that I am talking about? And Eguavoen will work with him. That's my honest opinion.
You have delivered. We have heard you. This is Eagle 7 Sports Radio. Nigerians have heard you. Everybody has heard you across the world this morning. I want to thank you very, very much. But your final words to all your fans and, friends and, in Nigeria and generally in Africa where people know you so very well. Your final words this morning.
I wish everybody good health, number one. This is something most precious to anybody. And great progress. I want to see a future for everybody in Nigeria. I want to see Nigeria grow, not just only in football, but in all other sectors. It's a shame that a country of that caliber should be struggling. I think we have all the potential to be on top of the world. And I hope that very soon we will achieve that. So I am praying for the country to progress. And like I said, in good health. It's only when you don't have that, you appreciate how important it is to have good health.
On behalf of all Nigerians, on behalf of all football players of all generations in our country, particularly those of us that experienced you, went through you, shared our times with you, and have been drinking from your fountain of knowledge and experiences through the decades. We thank you so very much for lending us your time this morning, for letting us tap from your experiences and your knowledge. We wish you the very best. We pray for your family. And as you pray for us in good health, we also pray that the creator of the universe will sustain you, give you good health, give you happiness and joy for the rest of your life. Thank you so very much, Mr. John Mastoroudes, this morning.
Thank you, Shagun. Thank you. And my love to all the people who are watching.
Thank you. Well, that's all we have time for this morning. This has been 90 Minutes with Mathematical. And it's been wonderful seeing my brother, my elder brother, and my friend again, looking radiant with his white grays, you know. I pray that when I grow up, I'll be like you. All right. Join us again next week, Saturday. Bye for now.